Hello YouTube, just here out in the garage showing you my newly completed project. Some may call it a ammo can stove. That's what I like to call it because I like to cook on it too. Or a wood heater or something like that. And I just want to take you a quick walk through it before I get fired up. Before I get it fired up, sorry. What it is, it's a 20 millimeter military ammo can for 20 millimeter grenades. And what I did was I cut a hole in it that on each side was somewhere in between a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 inch smaller on each side than the actual size of this door. This door is 24 gauge steel sheet metal that I bought at Home Depot. Same with this latch bar here. It's just the same thing as this. I just cut it off a separate section. This is just a cabinet handle that I attached so I don't burn my fingers. For the air vent, I cut the steel out of the center for the door, and then I just used some of the steel as the air control here. And that just slides back and forth and allows you to control the amount of air. These are just some bolts with washers on them that hold this on. This is a standard nickel-plated door hinge that I just bolted on there, as you can see. I don't have any welding equipment, so everything has to be done with bolts, nuts and bolts. And for the legs there, I just had some legs lying around, so... Well, I shouldn't say I had them lying around, sorry. I went and got those at Home Depot, thinking of a different set of legs, but I went and got those legs at Home Depot. This is definitely not a lightweight sort of backpacking stove. This is much more of a, you just set it up and sort of let it warm you or whatever. And the thing I like about these legs is they're actually, these screw in and out, so it's adjustable for height. So if you're on an unlevel surface, if it's leaning to one side or something, you can even it out. So I got 4 of those. There's 4 bolts holding in each one. And on the inside here, this is a expanded steel grate. It works really well. So far, it hasn't been warping or anything. And there on the inside, you can see the bolts for the legs. So far, it hasn't warped or anything. I'll show you what I used before. It was probably stupid of me to use this, but let me just get in the light here. Only one of our sets of lights are working. It's this thin sort of tack welded sort of the chicken wire stuff. Really, that's all it is. It's just a bunch of chicken shit stuff for apparently fencing. I don't know what this stuff is going to hold back, but it's like I'm bending it with my thumbs, and that's what happened to it. It just canyoned in there from the coals. It didn't let the large coals through, and so they just sat on there and ate away at it. This lets the large coals through, which is sort of good, sort of bad. It doesn't eat the grate away, but it heats the bottom of the can up faster. And most people, when they make these, they cut these handles off here. I want to keep these on both sides for carrying purposes, for easy carrying. Same with the latches. Most people take these off, or at least one of them off, so they can have a bigger door. Originally, what I was planning to do is take this whole front set off here, so the lid would just kind of sit on top, and then I would have had a large door here for feeding the wood, and then at the bottom just a small ash door for scraping out ash. But I decided to keep this all here and then just go with the small door. And the small door latch on the side there, that's also bolted on. This is also just made out of the same steel that I cut from the can itself. And originally this can came with green caulk paint. That paint is really not a good thing to be breathing in. Either when you're burning it off or if you're sanding it off, it's something you really don't want to breathe in. It's known for causing all kinds of nasty stuff. So if you're sanding it off, what I did was I burned off as much as I possibly could in the original first couple firings. Burned off as much as I possibly could, and then I just took a palm grip sander and took the rest of it off with some 60 grit sandpaper. And these cans, the large cans, the 20 millimeters, 30 millimeters, and 40 millimeters, they all have a side structural support on the side, on both sides. You want to keep this on. Don't take this off. If you do take it off, you're going to have to put something else there because the can's just going to warp. This keeps the can, or the major part of the can, from warping. The top section up here will still warp. It'll sort of bend a little bit inwards or outwards or whatever, but that can be easily compensated by, a hammer, and the lid fits right over it, so it'll hold it in shape. On the inside of this lid, when you get it, there's a liner on the inside that has a lip around that holds the rubber seal in place, that keeps it airtight and watertight. You want to obviously take the rubber out because rubber and fire aren't very good together, so you want to take that out. And what I did was, if you're going to take the whole inner liner out so you can use the cooktop to its full potential, go ahead, do that, all the power to you, but you're going to want to put some structural support in there. So you're going to weld some angle iron in there or something that will keep it nice and structurally strong so it doesn't warp. I don't have any welding equipment, so I couldn't do that. And bolts, they're a bit too loose to hold stuff like that in, so I didn't have that option. So what I did instead was I cut this part from here back out so I could get the chimney. I just cut that and I left the rest of the liner in there over the major cooktop. So yeah, it affects my cooking, seriously, like I said, it's just out of scrap stuff. So I don't actually intend to be cooking with this on a regular basis. I might try bacon sometime, but it might hinder my cooking, but it's going to keep it structurally sound, so I don't have to worry about it failing on me. For the chimney here, for this collar, this is it's a 4-inch airtight coupling with baffle on the inside. It came with the baffle there, and I just attached a wood handle to this again so I don't burn myself. And this actually had a lip on the inside. That's why I originally got it. I didn't even notice it had a baffle until I got it home. But it had a lip on the inside, and that's why I had to cut some of the liner out so I could fit the lip in there. And basically I just drilled some holes, 8 holes, and bolted 8 around there. Yeah, it fits in there nicely. Yeah, and so the baffle it really helps control the heat, and it if you have it, you can't have it fully closed because then it starts to snuff the fire out if you're not careful. So if you have it about 2/3 of the way closed, the bolt's a little loose here, so it's not going to stay closed. But if you have it about 2/3 of the way closed, smoke will still escape, but it redirects a lot of the flame back towards the cooktop, so it will heat all the cooktop up. So it acts like a traditional baffle on the inside. It's not as good, but it helps a little bit. Okay, maybe not that much, but it helps. I'm planning to put a baffle in there eventually, once I find some steel that's the right size and the right thickness. Anyways, and so what I've got for the chimney here, that's what I've got for the chimney. That's not the whole chimney. I've still got another section of this. This is a 30-inch section of heating ductwork. That the heating ductwork, it's really good stuff for a chimney. It's steel, so it's gonna last a little bit longer than other materials. It's not thick steel, so keep that in mind. So there's some white stuff on the top, white powder from the galvanizing or whatever. So it's not gonna last forever because it's pretty thin, but it's a cheap alternative to buying a really thick, exhaust tubing or something. This is a 4-inch to 3-inch adapter reducer, sorry. And so here's my other section here of tubing. You'll see that when I fire it up. It'll be on the very top of here, just to get the smoke and whatever chemicals are burning off out of my face. And so just a quick warning about all of these chemicals and paint and galvanizing and stuff. If you're going to be using this for camping or in your tent, your teepee, whatever, in your shop, I don't really care, but whatever you use it in, you're going to want to burn it outside first. You're going to want to burn it real long, real hard, as hot as you can. First of all, get all the paint off of there, all the chemicals from the inside. Anything you can get it off with the fire, outside. Don't be breathing that stuff in. And then with the chimney there, that galvanizing stuff, I'm not sure what exactly happens, but I know the zinc in the galvanizing, it gives off fumes. And those fumes will give you something called fume fever. I'm not too sure what exactly that is, but it's not like the workers in foundries used to get it in. It's not pretty. I'm not exactly sure what it does to you, but it's not it's not permanent, but it's definitely not something you want to have. And so don't be doing your first burn inside of the tent or inside of your shop in a closed area. Do it outside, make sure you don't breathe any of that stuff in. And the way you can tell that all this has I don't think it's burned off, but I think it's more like melted off or sort of just evaporated or something, I don't know. But this is what regular galvanizing looks like. It's shiny, you can see a reflection in it. This is what it'll start to look like when it heats up, and it'll go all the way up the pipe. You can actually watch it climbing out the pipe. It's kind of cool. But it'll go up the pipe for, obviously how hot it is, it'll stop eventually, but what will actually happen is it will, start to get rough. Then it'll kind of smooth out over time, but it'll start to get rough, and the way you know that all of the zinc has come off, all the galvanizing has come off, is the coating will actually start to flake off after it stays hot. And what you want to do, you want to make it sure when it's all sort of cracked and flaky, you want to burn it at least half an hour, 45 minutes past that point, when it's all covered in cracks and flakes, to make sure you get everything off. Make sure you're not going to be in any danger of any kind. So there she is. Let's go light it up. Alright, we're back. She's up and burning. I don't know if you can see that, but there's no smoke, just heat waves coming from the top of there. Got quite a nice fire going. She's cooking. Cooking quite nicely. This thing throws off a lot of heat. The paint is holding up well, except for the paint right here on the collar. I must have painted over it when not all the galvanizing was gone, so it's smoking a little bit. The whole thing is smoking in certain places where it's really heating up, but should be good. I don't know if you can see that, but that side is actually warped. Right there, that's, like I told you, that was the side I was telling you about that was actually warped. And it's warped right above the angle brace there. So, not much you can do about that. This side is warped a little bit too, you can probably see that. that side has worked quite badly, so hopefully it doesn't get any worse than that. Otherwise, she's holding up good. She's flaming quite nicely. I don't actually have any insulating stove rope, so what's happening is every time I open the door, it actually smoke pours out of the top of the, or starts coming out of the between the lid and the can, just from because the draft gets disturbed when I open the door. So the smoke pours out the door and out of the lid. You can see if I go like this, smoke starts to come out the door a little bit. It's not bad when I have a small fire, but when I have a larger fire, it definitely comes out because there's not enough for that much air. It's just, it's only using so much of the air, so the smoke comes out the top, air goes underneath it, and then you get the smoke coming out the door. So the door here is just all scorched like that because it's a little windy out here today, but when the air is only coming through there, the fire sort of gets pulled towards it a little bit, and then it just scorches just the general heat. Other than that, she's doing pretty good. She's pretty solid. I see a little bit of smoke coming out, but usually just heat waves. Since it's windy, it gets blown away quite quickly. So she's doing good. Kind of feed a little bit. For some reason, when I went and got a whole bunch of sticks and stuff, I got a whole bunch of this, and I decided to put that all in the bucket. So I've got large sticks along with tiny little ones, and then the chopped stuff. So this was meant to be my large wood bin, but I have all this stuff, so I might as well get rid of it. There we go. Let's get a couple more in there. And we'll just toss that in there. Let's get that where we want it. There we go. So, seems to be doing pretty good. The grate is holding up quite well. Not sure if you can see that. There's no sagging or anything in the grate. All the ash that's small enough to fit underneath simply falls through, and then it's feeding quite well. As you can see, the fire is actually going underneath the grate, which means that there's air coming to the flame under there, which is very good. It's exactly what we want. It's exactly what the grate is there for. Expanded metal works well. Yes. Alright. She's definitely doing nice. And these handles, they don't get in the way or anything, but what you can actually do is you can keep them down like that. And if you take the door and close it against it, it keeps it open just a little bit. It's not far enough closed that smoke won't come out the door, but it keeps the door open just a little bit, and it just sort of friction fits right back up in place. Yeah, she's doing pretty well. Gives off a lot of nice heat, so on a cold, windy day like today, I'm nice and toasty sitting beside it, even out here in the open, out in the back alley, just out on the driveway, just testing it out. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it otherwise. It's been doing remarkably well. Alright, I'll come back when it's done burning and see what kind of condition she's been left in. Alright, back in the garage after the test burn here. And she held up really well. The paint, it's all holding up well. It's all holding up very well. Even where the sticks were sitting directly against the wall. It's doing very, very well. One thing I noticed is that when the flame is really close to the door here, this door will actually start to bulge inwards a little bit, and it makes closing a little difficult. And there's the aftermath. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just a little bit of ash in there, or a little sort of that white ash sort of powder. Other than that, she's nice and solid. Yeah, I'll show you how the baffle actually held up. The baffle slash damper, it's actually, like I said, it just came in this collar, so it's not really thick steel. It's just meant for thinner stuff. Now I'll go grab the light. Probably should have done that first. But here's how the damper held up. You can see there's no warping or melting of any kind. It stayed nice and straight, nice and solid. The handle's doing well. Everything is doing well. I knew everything would do well because on the original test burns, it all went fine. I just wanted to do this to see how the paint would hold up and everything. So all the sort of random stuff you see on there is just ash from my gloves when I picked up the stove and was emptying it out, like on the latches and stuff. But like I said before, we found the first thing wrong with it. The plate here, the latch, is actually bent. I don't know if you can see that, but on the right side over here, it's actually bent a little bit, and so it no longer folds flush against the container. You can see it folds flush on that side, but then as soon as you go over to this side, it's not as flush. Sorry, it's a bit dark, but anyways, not too worried about that. Other than that, she's pretty solid. The legs, slight discoloration from the heat. The bottom, even with the ashes sitting right on the bottom of the stove, the paint is holding up quite well. It's not warpy or anything. It's a bit bulged, but nothing to be worried about. Otherwise, pretty happy with it. Seems to be pretty solid. Shows off a lot of heat. Alright. Thanks for watching.